Today is World Asthma Day, a chance to shine a light on a condition that affects millions of lives here in New Zealand and around the globe. Backed up by the Global Initiative for Asthma, the day is about raising awareness and reminding us that managing asthma involves government, policymakers, as well as health professionals and industry leaders. Asthma is one of the most common long-term health conditions worldwide. As I said, it affects a lot of people, around 260 million. Here in New Zealand, the stats are serious. 1 in 5 Kiwis live with a respiratory disease. 1 in 8 children have asthma, and it's our third biggest killer, costing the country a staggering $8.4 billion each year. It is not easy being wheezy. I'm joined by Letitia Harding, Chief Executive of the Asthma and Respiratory Foundation. Letitia, hey, good to talk again.
Hi.
It hasn't been that long.
It hasn't been that long, Leah.
We'll have to get you on the platform. Look, it's great to talk again. On a global scale, Letitia, do we have some really high numbers in New Zealand of people dealing with asthma?
Yeah, we do comparatively. I mean, 1 in 8 New Zealanders, so adults and children, and we still have almost 100 people dying from asthma each year in New Zealand. I think people, are surprised by those figures.
And Kiwi kids seem susceptible too. 1 in 1 in 8? Is it 1 in 5?
Yeah,
1 in 8.
1
I mean,
in 8,
what's going on there? Why the kids?
Yeah, look, it's the thing is, it's a condition which doesn't have any cure, and it's all about managing it. That's the biggest thing, and there's a lot of things that can trigger an asthma attack. We call them asthma exacerbations, but the old terminology of an asthma attack. Living in our clean, green country, a lot of pollen, etc. Often you can have hay fever and asthma, and that can bring on a flare up as well. And it really is about making sure that people manage it well. And if they're out and about, making sure they've got their reliever. I think that's, their inhaler, I should say, which is really, really important.
When you said pollen, I grew up in Hawke's Bay, and we actually at one stage lived on a Watties farm, which was all trees and fruit and pollen and the like, and we lived literally in the middle in a little cottage. Great way to bring up kids, by the way. But I did not get anything, Letitia. I was tickety-boo until I came to Auckland in my early 20s, and I went to my doctor because I was having trouble. And I said to my doctor, and, they did tests, and they said, oh, yeah, you've got asthma. And I argued. I said, no, I haven't. And I remember her saying, you have. And I said, well, how come I grew up literally in, around all that stuff? So I suppose I'm asking, does it come on in stages when you, I got it as an adult. How does it work?
Well, it's quite interesting. We actually hear that a lot from people who come over, come to New Zealand from overseas as well. They've never had asthma, and then they come here to New Zealand, and, you hear about people coming from the UK or whatever, and, suddenly they've got these asthma symptoms. It is strange. There's lots of different triggers that can bring it on, and there's difference, with childhood asthma and adult asthma. The foundation puts out the national guidelines, so the adolescent and adult asthma guidelines. We have a fantastic voluntary scientific advisory board that helps us with that. And of course, now for people who are 12 years and over, we do recommend, of course, the 2-in-1 combination inhaler. So that means you have your preventer and your reliever in the same inhaler, which makes life a little bit easier for people.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good to know you've got this combination inhaler available.
Yeah, so, I mean, asthma seems to manifest itself differently among individuals. You've just said, it can come on as an adult. People coming overseas have got it. Could you elaborate on maybe the various types of asthma and how the severity levels vary?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's what we call, the sort of mild asthma, And then you've got your more moderate to severe asthma, which may mean that you're having more frequent asthma attacks, but also you may need to have some added therapy to that besides just an inhaler. So these are what we call our biologics and things. So I think the important issue is if you're concerned that you may have asthma, and this is what the World Asthma Day, of course, is about, it's, talk to your GP about it. Find out, whether it is that mild asthma or moderate to severe asthma. Check you're on the right medication if that's the case, and also technique, because a lot of people, there's different inhalers out there, and knowing how to use it properly so these inhalers get down, the medication gets deep down into your lungs is really important. And you may actually have to use a spacer as well, which you put the inhaler onto to get that deep down into the lungs. So there's a lot of different aspects to it, and I think it's about having that attention on it today, and maybe having a little bit of a Warren of Fitness check this World Asthma Day.
I actually use that spacer, Letitia. I use that in the morning and night. It's a bit funny and, obviously done in the privacy of my bathroom. But when they first years ago gave me the inhaler, I mean, obviously I could take it in, but I just, when I had my consultation with the nurse later, she said, this is the best way to get it into your lungs more effectively. And I've liked that ever since. So I've just said, give me that little tube, and I'm happy with that. So having said that, do you think there's enough support from the government and in the right policy? So I get heavily subsidised for my inhalers, which I'm sure most people with asthma do, and also can get a free checkup, I think, once a year with the nurse to make sure that I'm still doing it right. Is there more? Should there be more?